Here's a question that quietly terrifies almost everybody approaching retirement, and it's not, will I have enough money? It's smaller than that. Somebody leans in, tilts their head, and goes, but what will you do all day? And they say it with this little note of pity, like retirement is a waiting room. Like the second you stop working, you're going to be sitting in a beige recliner staring at a wall, slowly turning into a cautionary tale. I want to blow that question up today, because that question, what will you do all day, reveals the single most broken idea our culture has about being alive. It assumes that if a job isn't filling your hours, the hours are empty, that your time only has value when somebody's paying you for it. That is a lie, a big, expensive, life-shrinking lie. And when you actually talk to people who've been retired for a couple years, happily retired, the ones who figured it out, they don't describe a waiting room. They describe something closer to waking up. They'll tell you the strangest thing, that they feel more like themselves now than they did in their entire working life. So today, I'm giving you 8 reasons retirement is better than you think, and every single one is about the part nobody puts a price tag on, the stuff that actually makes a life feel like a life. Let's get into it. Reason 1, you finally own your time. Think about the shape of your days for the last couple decades. A big chunk of every one already belonged to your work before you even had your coffee. And honestly, that was a fair deal. That work built your life. It paid the mortgage, put food on the table, maybe raised the family, gave you problems worth solving and good people to solve them with. There's real pride in that. But the clock still had someone else's name on it. 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, those hours were promised, and you kept the promise because that's what building a life takes. Retirement is the day that arrangement ends and you get the keys back. Now, every hour has your name on it. Not your manager's, not the calendar invites, not the quick sync that could have been an email. Yours. You want to spend Tuesday doing absolutely nothing? That's a valid Tuesday now. You want to drive 3 hours to see a lake because a friend said it was pretty? Go! Nobody's docking your PTO. There is no PTO. There's just time. All of it. Owned outright. And most people don't realize how much of their time had been spoken for until they suddenly get it all back at once. It's like being handed a bank account you forgot was yours. That feeling of, wait, this is all mine? That's not boredom. That's a person remembering they're free. Reason 2, small moments become bigger. When you're working, life tends to move fast, and the small stuff gets flattened in the rush. You don't taste your breakfast. You inhale it over the sink while answering an email with your thumb. You don't notice the morning. You're already 3 hours into the day in your head. The hours blur together, and the weekend shows up before you've had a second to look up. Retirement slows the film down. And when the film slows down, the ordinary stuff you've been moving right past turns out to be kinda everything. The first sip of coffee when you're actually sitting down to drink it, the way the light hits the kitchen at 7 a.m. when you're not rushing out the door, a conversation with a stranger at the hardware store you'd normally cut short because you're swamped, except now you're not swamped, so you let it happen. And it turns out that guy has an incredible story about a boat. People say stop and smell the roses, and it always sounded like something printed on a throw pillow. But it's real, and it's simple. You were never anti-roses. You just didn't have 4 seconds to stop for anything. Retirement gives you the seconds back. And a life isn't really made of the big vacations and the milestone birthdays. It's made of about 10,000 tiny, ordinary moments, and for years, you were moving too fast to catch most of them. Now, you show up, and they're good. They were always good. You just weren't there for them. Reason 3, your stress levels drop. Your body's going to throw a party for this one because your stress levels can drop dramatically. Let's be honest about the toll a demanding career takes on your nervous system. And a lot of that toll comes from caring. You wanted to do the work well, so you carried a low-grade, always-on hum stress for so long, it started to feel normal. The Sunday scaries, the email at 9 p.m. that quietly hijacks your evening, the deadline, the performance review, the dread behind, do you have a minute to chat? The quick call that isn't quick. You kept it all running year after year, and mostly you didn't even notice the weight of it. Retirement sets that weight down. No alarm jolting you awake in the dark with a hit of cortisol before your eyes are open. No inbox refilling faster than you can empty it like a game of whack-a-mole where the moles are all named urgent. No per my last email, nobody named Greg circling back on this one. There is no Greg anymore, and that's nothing against Greg. It's just not yours to solve now. And when that background stress finally lifts, people describe it almost physically. They sleep better, their jaw unclenches, their shoulders come down from around their ears where they'd been living since 1994. You don't realize how heavy the low hum was until it's gone, and then you exhale, really exhale, maybe for the first time in a while. Reason 4, you live at your own pace. For most of your life, your days ran on a schedule you didn't get to set. And fair enough, because a job has to run on a shared clock. Be at your desk by 9. Lunch is 30 minutes, go. Meeting at 2, whether or not you've got anything to add. Leave at 5, sit in traffic. Do it again tomorrow. When a lot of people need to work together, somebody's rhythm has to win, and it usually isn't yours. That's not the job being cruel, it's just what coordination costs. But the shared clock never had much room for a simple truth. People aren't all built to run on the same schedule. Some of us are sharpest at 6 a.m. Some don't fully switch on until noon. Some folks genuinely need an afternoon nap to be a functional human being. That's not laziness, it's just how they're wired. And no group schedule can bend to fit everyone at once. Retirement lets you finally sync up with your own factory settings. Are you actually a morning person? Great. Get up at 5, watch the sunrise, do your best thinking while the world's still asleep. Not a morning person? Sleep in. Nobody's grading you. Want to eat lunch at 3 and dinner at 9 because that's when you're actually hungry? Odd choice. Love it for you. Go for it. Want to do one meaningful thing today and call it a full day? That counts now. That's a win. You stop grinding against a pace that never quite fit and settle into the one that does. And it turns out a lot of us were never slow or lazy. We were just running on a clock built for a crowd instead of for us. Reason 5, your real identity gets bigger. A lot of people are afraid that when the job ends, they shrink, that without the title, the business card, the I'm a whatever, they'll just disappear, become nobody. It's actually the reverse. When the job ends, the rest of who you are finally gets room to grow. For decades, when someone asked, "What do?" you answered with a job. I'm an engineer. I'm a teacher. I'm in finance. And that answer meant something. It was real and often something to be genuinely proud of. But a career naturally takes up so much space that the other parts of you, the musician, the traveler, the goofball, the one who's weirdly great at trivia, the one who used to paint, end up tucked into the corners with less room to breathe. Retirement takes the job off the top of the shelf, and suddenly there's space for everything else you are. That's why so many retirees seem to bloom. The accountant who becomes a genuinely good woodworker, the manager who joins a band with 3 other guys who also just retired, the quiet office worker who turns into a force of nature at the community garden. That's not them becoming brand new people at 65. It's them finally giving the rest of themselves some daylight. You don't get smaller in retirement, you get bigger. You get to be the whole you, not just the part that fit on a business card. And a lot of people rediscover pieces of themselves they'd almost forgotten were there. Reason 6, your relationships deepen. A full working life can quietly starve your relationships, not on purpose and not for any lack of love. It's just that connection runs on time, and time is the one thing a busy career tends to leave in short supply. So friendships slide into a "we should really catch up sometime" texts that never turn into plans. Your spouse becomes your logistics partner. You spend the evening coordinating schedules and splitting chores, then fall asleep having barely actually talked. You catch your kids for 11 tired minutes before bed. Everybody's running on fumes, so the relationships run on fumes. Retirement refills the tank, and the tank is time. Now there's time for the lunch that runs 3 hours with nobody checking a watch. Time to actually show up for a friend having a hard week instead of firing off a thinking of you and getting back to it. Time for the real conversation with your spouse, the kind you two haven't had since before the mortgage and the kids and the calendar Tetris took over. You get to date each other again. Little strange, really nice. Do it. And the grandkids? Working grandparents get the highlight reel. Retired grandparents get the whole movie. The random Wednesday afternoons, the walks, the "grandpa, watch this" for the 400th time. That's not filler. That's the good stuff, the stuff people actually talk about at the end. Almost nobody looks back wishing they'd spent more time at the office. Relationships are a bit like a plant. They rarely die from one big dramatic thing. They die from not getting watered. Retirement hands you the watering can and says, "You've got the time now. Go." Reason 7, you are more present. When your work is demanding and you care about it, part of your mind tends to stay on it even after you've clocked out. You're at dinner, but you're rehearsing tomorrow's meeting. You're at your kid's recital, but half your head is drafting an email. You're on vacation checking Slack from a beach because it feels like the world can't spin for 6 days without you. That's not a character flaw. It's just what carrying responsibility does. But it means a lot of us spend years physically in one place and mentally somewhere else, quietly missing chunks of our own lives while standing right in the middle of them. Retirement pulls your mind back into the room. With no deadline tugging at the back of your skull, no "did I reply to that?" no low hum of the next obligation, you can actually land. You can be at dinner and just be at dinner. You can listen to someone and hear the whole thing instead of waiting for your turn while your mind's half on work. You can watch a sunset without your brain jumping straight to, okay, what's next on the list? People pay good money for meditation retreats to learn to be present for about 90 seconds. Retirement, done well, hands you that same thing for free as your default setting. You stop living 3 hours into the future and a week into the past, and you start actually inhabiting the only moment that's ever real, this one. Being fully here turns out to be one of the best feelings there is. Most of us just didn't get much practice at it until the work finally loosened its attention on us.
Reason 8, you become content. Content isn't a flashy word, I know. Our whole culture is kind of at war with contentment. Every ad, every feed, every hustle guru is built to make you feel like you don't have enough, aren't enough, need the next thing, the bigger house, the promotion, the upgrade. We're trained to treat wanting more as a virtue and being satisfied as settling, as if being at peace means you gave up. Retirement quietly takes that machine apart. When you're no longer chasing the next raise, the next title, the next rung on a ladder that never actually ends, something shifts. You stop measuring your life against the person in the next cubicle or the highlight reel on your phone. The comparison engine that's been idling in the back of your mind since your 20s finally powers down. And in the quiet where all that striving used to be, an unfamiliar feeling shows up. It's the feeling of enough, of wanting the life you already have, of sitting on the porch on an ordinary evening with nowhere to be and nothing to prove, thinking, yeah, this is good. I'm good. That's not boredom, and it's not giving up. It's the finish line of a race almost nobody talks about, the race to stop racing. You spent years being told happiness was somewhere up ahead, one achievement away, and retirement lets you in on the thing that constant chase makes so hard to see. It was never up ahead. It was available all along, the moment you slowed down enough to notice you already had it. Contentment is the final boss, and retirement, of all places, is where a lot of people finally beat it. For your entire adult life, you've been trained to measure yourself by output, productivity, the grind, rise and grind. We turned busy into a personality. Ask anyone how they're doing, they don't say good, they say so busy, like it's a flex. So when retirement shows up and removes the busy, your brain panics. It goes, if I'm not producing, what am I even worth? Retirement doesn't take something away from you, it hands something back. It hands back the exact stuff the grind quietly stole. 1 hour, one Sunday, one missed dinner at a time for 40 years. You're not losing a job, you're getting a life out of hock. None of these 8 happen automatically. Retirement doesn't magically hand you presence and contentment and deep relationships the moment you clock out for the last time. It gives you the raw material, the time, the freedom, the open space that all those working years earned you. What you build with it is up to you. So the next time someone tilts their head and hits you with, "But what will you do all day?" you can just smile, because now you know the real answer. Here's what I'd love from you. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 8 you're looking forward to most, or if you're already retired, which one hit hardest, because I know some of you are sitting there nodding. And if this reframed even one anxious thought about your future, tap the like button. It genuinely helps this reach other people quietly stressing for no reason. Go own your time. I'll see you in the next one.